Action.
All right. Okay, so we are live. The first episode of this new podcast I'm starting called Redefining Advertising. And the reason I started this podcast, or I felt it was kind of important to start this podcast now, is we're in very, very different times, and advertising is being redefined, and how we produce content for advertising is being redefined, even as we every single day. And I think one of the biggest things that people need to learn is how to kind of really own relationships with their customers and with their clients. So I'm hoping that through these podcasts, people will get a better understanding of like how to do it on their own, how to reach out to people directly that can actually help businesses and small businesses and brands kind of accomplish that task in these kind of crazy times. So my first guest is Sabir. Sabir and I actually worked together at VaynerMedia about 5 years ago, and he was head of the e-commerce team. And the interesting thing about Sabir, and I think it's really kind of important and relevant that we're starting with E-Comm, because we're in such an incredible time where E-Comm has an incredible opportunity to offer businesses. So if businesses have never even tried E-Comm or have been hesitant about E-Comm, I think now is like an incredible opportune moment to actually get involved with that. But the thing about Sabir that was always incredible was that his team in all of Vayner was the team that could actually quantify their results. I mean, we had the creative department, you had the paid media team, and every single one of them had a way of like saying we had, a way of proving our success. But he had the actual sales, and that's something I think e-commerce like really has, and I don't think you can translate to dollars any other way except with e-commerce. So Sabir, thank you for coming on. I think it's going to be an incredible conversation. I think it's going to be something a lot of people can really learn a lot from, especially people who have never thought about e-comm for their companies or businesses. So maybe you want to give a brief introduction of like who you are and what we can learn from you over the next hour.
Well, thank you, Jason, for having me, and good morning to everyone for tuning in to this program. I think we will have the recording of this also available for later, so people can consume it later too. In the way of the background, so I've been in e-commerce for 20 plus years now. Been lucky for me, I was there from the very beginning when e-commerce started. In fact, I was there when internet started and being commercialized. So that's how old I am, even though I look like this. I have a baby face, but I am pretty old. I have 21-year-old twin kids. So they're 21 and graduating from college. So I've been part of it. I mean, all of the kind of the infrastructure that needed to be created in e-commerce nowadays becomes kind of packaged. E-commerce now, thanks to Amazon, thanks to Shopify, thanks to BigCommerce, it has become so mainstream and so easy. There's no reason for you not to do e-commerce. Whether you want to do Amazon or not, that's a different, a bigger loaded question. But e-commerce for companies, they should be thinking about it, whether they're selling products or even services. That the e-commerce part of it, where you're electronically conducting commerce, it should be part of their DNA, especially in companies like you kind of hit upon earlier. During this COVID-19, a lot of the businesses right now, e-commerce is the only way to sell because stores are closed, they're shut down because of lockdown throughout the world, not just the U.S. That they need to have an electronic means of transacting in order to stay in business. So I've heard so many sad stories about retailers and small businesses that actually went under. And all they had to do was have an e-commerce channel for them to actually survive during this period, and they never invested in anything in related to e-commerce. And when I say investment, it's no longer like you have to spend millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. You don't need to do that. You could invest very little and start up very little, especially if you're a one-store small business owner. You could start pretty small and have something going, and as you see the traction from it, you're going to start investing in it, and you might find that actually e-commerce might become your company, that just happens to have one retail store or two retail stores, and things of that nature. So very excited to be here, and I'm open to any questions from you or audience members that you could ask me, and I can help you through that. As far as brands go, kind of the founding father of doing e-commerce at Vitamin Shop. A lot of the U.S. audiences should know who Vitamin Shop is. Perry Ellis, Tommy Hilfiger, very recently, quite a lot of brands at VaynerMedia. Because of confidentiality, I cannot name the clients there, but pretty big CPG clients, Fortune 50 companies, all the way down to very small, companies that are like entrepreneur-driven. It's one product company. I am a strategic advisor to one of the guest sharks, Matt Higgins. So I do get involved in a lot of the Shark Tank type projects to help them kind of scale up and get them going from an e-commerce standpoint. So that's my quick background.
Cool. So I think we should start with like, what is e-commerce? And I know that's kind of a pretty broad question, and I'm sure that like 99% of the people, watching this, has shopped online and has had an e-commerce experience. But from a business owner's perspective, and for somebody who is like never done e-commerce, never thought about e-commerce for their business, like what does that look like for them, and what does it mean for their business?
Sure. So let's say if you are a kind of a salon owner, right? A hairdresser, right? People come to your store. I want to use just one example, kind of solidify the process a little bit and kind of explain different things. Typically, the hairdressers, they take either they're booking over the phone, very traditionally, right? Or somebody walks in and they take the person if they have availability, and then they deliver the service to them: hair coloring, shampoo, conditioner, cut, whatever those things are, blow dry, and so on. But in that kind of a context, there is also quite a lot of hair salons also have they sell products that are only available through salon owners. So you cannot find them at Costco's of the world or Walgreens and so on. So if you're thinking about that sort of a kind of a context, that kind of a small business, uh, right from the get-go, there are two things that we could do from an e-commerce standpoint, right? In order to bring that brand, that hair salon to the web, to the internet, right? One, you could sign up for a Shopify. Shopify is an e-commerce shopping cart, and BigCommerce is another one. Those are both are very popular. You could put them up on. You can put up your brand, your store on the internet by telling people where you're located, who the main owner is. What do appointments look like. Show your portfolio of the work that you have done on hair and how beautiful it looks before and after, and so on and so forth. That's just the branding side of it, right? To tell your story about your portfolio and what you are capable of doing. To make it e-commerce, there are two things that I can think of that could be done for a hair salon there. The bookings could move actually to the internet, so people can actually book, and they could even they can book it. They could pay for their appointment ahead of time, so that they're completely confirmed appointments. Not just scheduling them and people don't show. There are no shows. So people can actually book their appointments, pay for it online. You can take Visa, MasterCard, everything that you take with your Square payment in your hair salon. A lot of hair salons run on Square. So that's the payment system that swipes your credit card. So they can do that part of it. That's an obvious one. Every salon owner can do that. So that's one part of it that they could be doing e-commerce. Like even right now during COVID-19, one of the recommendations, because quite a lot of hair salon owners did reach out to me and ask me for not just that, but a nail salon, they hit me up on LinkedIn and Twitter. One of the recommendations I said that if you can weather the storm, if you have Square, you can do a gift card. Sell gift card to the people who have come to your salon before, and just double the value, right? So if they buy a $50 gift card, you're giving them $100 in value when the salon opens. And the three businesses that are going to be going to have huge lines right after COVID-19. I've been on a lot of Zoom calls and webinars and stuff like that. Hair is really messy. In case of men, it's the hair looks like this. They look like Mufasa. And for women, if they're not wearing a cap or something like that, you can see the roots. People need a lot of help related to hair, not let alone getting cut and things of that nature. So that's going to happen, right? You will be busy. If you want to make some cash right now, sell gift cards. Sell gift cards. $50 gift card gives you $100 value, or you could say that if they're buying a gift card that gives them actual service, for example, if it's going to be shampoo and conditioner, you're going to blow dry for free. Or if they get the blow dry, the wash is free or something like that. You can always bring some sort of value in that during this period. And then as soon as it opens, people are going to line up and you're going to get the value. You got the cash in your pocket. You're making your mortgage and you're making your rent and things of that nature. So, and you're making a basic living. So that's one part of it. The other part is the stuff that you have on the shelf that when people get the service, then you recommend to them, hey, that coloring I just did, this is the kind of a shampoo you should be using for your hair in order to really you make sure that it stays in and things, that you're maintaining it well. That could also be put up on your Shopify site. You could put it up there. If you're a hair salon, so you're exclusively selling it through your business, and that product could be not that the person has to come to your store in order for you to sell to them. You could have a subscription on it. So if people got that product, they like it, they like that oil that you recommend to them, or the hairspray, or the gel, or whatever, they would be able to subscribe to that product, so that every 30 days you're selling it to them. Now your business is no longer just a physical space, hair salon that you're selling the product, your service, and the side effect. The product side of it could actually become a thing on its own. And then if the thing picks up enough steam, you may want to consider private labeling that product so that it's under your name. Beauregard Salon makes this hair by Beauregard, right? Your name, that's your private label. And a lot of those companies, as soon as they see that there's traction, you could ask them for that private label, and now it's your product, like Vidal Sassoon or any of those kind of brands that are well known in the industry.
Right. I think it's really incredibly interesting. You actually brought probably the one business that I don't think anybody ever think has potential e-commerce potential in this environment, which is like hair salons and places that are going to be
nail
closed
salons. Yep.
Nail salons. Like that's incredible.
Different types of spas,
Yeah. And that's something I've been talking to with some of my clients too, is like, especially clients that, need that in-person service in order for it to kind of continue working. A lot of them have just been like, we'll have to wait this out and see what happens when it's over. But I think like rethinking and kind of imagining what you could offer to your clients is something that a lot of businesses need to kind of do in today's environment to kind of maintain success. And like you said, it's not success where it's going to be for the next 4 or 5 years. It's just to get over this period,
Yeah. I mean, the other ones are things like another one that's more like service driven, and people don't think about it, is like a print shop, right? That makes posters and stuff. That 100% of it should be moved over to e-commerce, and especially during this period, and even after, you can just open up your business. No, you're no longer local Main Street print shop. You're actually could be catering to customers in Kansas City or Indiana or wherever. If your work portfolio, you can put that up, and then the types of work that you can do. 100% of that should be online, and people should be able to order products and your services and stuff like that. And then you're working on it, and then now all of a sudden that store turns almost like a factory. You're running a factory that actually produces those things, and the order taking is no longer like front of the shop where somebody walks in to do that. You're doing it. So for kind of Main Street USA, there's quite a lot of businesses. I mean, it's heartbreaking to see like bakeries and restaurants and things of that nature, where you typically think that you have to go, you have to sit down, you have to do the ambiance thing and the feeling thing and all of that thing. If you're making a good product, which is food and it's pastries and cakes and stuff like that, all of that could be moved over to e-commerce, and now all of a sudden that the kitchen actually becomes your primary function in that business, and you are still in business, and you're selling your cakes, you're selling your pastries, you're selling your amazing dishes. I mean, during this weekend, I can tell you personally, I would have loved to, because the thing is that when you order through Grubhub or you order through Seamless or Uber Eats, most of those restaurants are not high-end restaurants, right? I would have loved if the higher end restaurants for Mother's Day, if I were to able to, even if it was pickup, I would have personally gone to the restaurant and they would have catered the food and get it ready for me. I would have picked it up and brought it home so that we could have a nice Mother's Day meal. But I had to opt for the best choice that I had on Grubhub or Seamless in order to do that. And actually, long story short, I actually ended up going to that place to go pick up my food on Grubhub. I waited in line for 2 hours before my food
Wow.
was ready. And I had placed my order, it was dinner, so I had placed my order at 3 p.m. And I was there at 7 p.m. to come pick it up, and food was not ready till 8:30 that I brought it
You
back.
mean you mean you didn't cook?
No, I do know how to cook, but I didn't cook this time. But the thing, but because you have to as a citizen, I mean, especially in New York, you have to support your restaurants and bakeries and stuff like that, and especially during this time, you have to support them because you want to see them survive this thing and make it through on the other side. And there are amazing restaurants. There are amazing chefs. They're really good at their craft. They just don't know the business side of the equation. So they don't know marketing.
Right.
They don't know because they're amazing at what they do, which is amazing
Yeah.
food. They just don't know how
Yeah.
to operate a restaurant or operate or do marketing and things of that nature to bring people in.
Right. So that kind of is a good segue into, so have you worked recently with a business that didn't have an e-commerce established prior to you working with them and kind of have come in and kind of walk them through the process and like transition them to an e-commerce? Can you give like a little story of like maybe a business that you just recently have worked with in these times that you helped them transition to e-commerce and what that was like?
Sure. Actually, several of them. So I'll give you one example. It was actually a bakery. They were doing e-commerce a little bit, but not at the speed of COVID, basically in the era of COVID. So optimized help them restructure kind of the processes and also the marketing strategy of that bakery so that the focus was put more on the kitchen side of the equation so that we had enough people in there to crank out enough orders and then focused on proper digital marketing to make sure that we are putting the right message at the right time in order to kind of maximize the capacity of the kitchen. So one of the earlier conversations we had was what is the capacity of the kitchen given the employees you have, right? So the number was the max output would be 300. Because of confidentiality, I cannot name the bakery, but it's a well-known bakery in New York City. That's all I can tell you. Well known, really well known. But so we so the capacity was like 300. I said, okay, let's push the kitchen. Let's do all the things we can do from a digital marketing standpoint. That included like email marketing, Facebook marketing. You could buy ads on Facebook because we have an audience that you may not know that you can on Facebook. Businesses can buy advertising and things of that nature, and also working with influencers, people who also talk about your brand on Instagram, for example, right? So working with them, the good thing is they had quite a lot of these things in place, but they never leveraged it from an e-commerce standpoint, right? To actually drive sales online, not that hey, we have this new cupcake, come into our store, we'll start making it on Wednesday, right? It's a different kind of a muscle, right? It's not that you are sending them to a store to go experience it, the aroma and all those kind of things. You have to show them beautiful pictures and video maybe to kind
Right.
of entice them and words to entice them to say that this is a good product to buy, for different types of occasions. So that's the kind of work we did, and within 2 weeks, we started hitting capacity every single day, 300 orders per day, which was great. And during normal times, all of the company was never hitting 300 orders per day this consistently, basically. So that was a definite strategy that we deployed as far as because what I do based on the work I do even though I talk about quite a lot about e-commerce, it all has to do with psychology, right? It's all about consumer psychology. Where are people and what kind of mindset are they in when you are trying to sell the thing you want to sell to them by recommending the product and you're putting it in front of them. The ones that succeed, the ones that convert, the ones that actually buy that product is when you hit that journey really well. Like you understand that journey really well, and you understand the consumer mindset, and then you're putting the right messages in front of them, the right imagery, and then also kind of the influencers are also saying a similar kind of thing right in front of them. So it's all about understanding the consumer psychology and understanding the journey that they take when they consider you and your product or service. The more you understand that, you remove a lot of what I call uncertainty, and I call it my, Sabir's uncertainty principle, right? The more uncertainty you remove from that process, meaning that you're educating them, you're showing them recipes, you're showing them different ways of handling it. If it's a technical product, you're showing them kind of the how-to. You're producing a lot of content. The biggest example of it in history right now, from a digital standpoint, is Gary Vee and his wine library, right? Wine is a very technical product. The different notes, and I don't drink at all. So if I mess this up, I apologize, Gary, and to your audience. I don't drink at all, but there are different notes. There are different ways you can drink wine with. You can pair it with chocolate, with steak, and so on and so forth. It's very technical, right? Even though it's a food product. So he started producing these wine library episodes to kind of tell people when he took a sip and swirled it and or held it, how did it actually feel? If you think about it, that's kind of a consumer psychology. You're conveying to them, oh, this is how it feels. I feel a little nutty. I feel like this. I feel like that. You're kind of telling them, and then you can tell them, I would pair this definitely with chocolate. It's going to go amazing with it. It's going to just increase the taste of the chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, whatever, right? Or this kind of rare steak could go really well with this kind of stuff. So he's actually delivering content to the consumer that it's removing the uncertainty of, am I going to like it, right? Is it going to taste good? What does it go with? He's answering all of those kinds of questions. Fast forward, that was 12 years ago. He did that, right? In 2008, he started producing.
Yeah.
Actually, he started in 2008. He went with VaynerMedia, but it was much earlier than that. Like, it may have been closer to 18 years now, right? That he's removing a lot of uncertainty from that equation. If you're selling gardening supply tools, right, you need to show people how to first maintain that product so that it can last you a long time, and then you can show them how to use that in your garden. And then when you're showing them that, when you go into a garden, there are rose bushes, and there's weed, and there's trees, and there's so many different types of species of plants that you have, and flowers and stuff like that. How do you use that tool in that garden, right? That could be a ton of content that you could be producing. If you're just putting the product up with price and one image and stuff like that, there is no context. People don't understand
Right.
any of it. If I have uncertainty about, is this going to fit into the thing that I have, whether I'm looking for a solution, or maybe you're selling a component that's going to fit into this bigger thing. I don't know, if you didn't give me enough information for me to decide that. So the more you remove this uncertainty from the equation, the better you're going to convert those kind of products. Going back to the hair salon example, if you're selling that product, you can show how do you apply the product, right? If you're retailing somebody else's product, you can go to the brand and say, hey, can you give me a video? I would like to put it up on my site, so when people come and look at this thing, I want to show them that. Better yet, I would take that, if I'm the hairdresser, I would actually take that product and using somebody to actually show them, this is how you apply it. You keep it on for 3 minutes. You're literally showing them the recipe of how to use that product and how to care for the hair. That is going to
Yeah.
that's going to go a long while to kind of remove any kind of uncertainty. That's just one example of it. Reviews, ratings, other social validations, Q&A. If you're selling food product, is it gluten free? Is it keto? Is it paleo? 1,000 different. Is it kosher certified, and so on and so forth. All of those things come to mind when you are asking these questions. Is this, since it has cayenne in there, cayenne pepper? Is it too spicy? What's the heat level? What's the heat index? Think of those kind of questions that you would ask as a consumer. Ask the question and respond to the question on that product page, so that people, you're removing a lot of that uncertainty from the equation.
Yeah, and I when you're creating that type of content too, like how-to videos, the stuff that's more like kind of like information rather than actually pushing rhetoric onto a consumer, they kind of interpret that a little different than actually seeing like a traditional ad or a 30-second spot for your product. It actually makes it feel much more personable, and that personality that you have behind the product actually helps you move it more and helps you identify with your clients and your customer base more, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could also add from a personality standpoint, like this is why I like selling videos rather than brand videos. Because
Yeah,
if you, in that hair salon example, if I go back to Vidal Sassoon and say, give me your videos, they'll give me something that looks beautiful, it shines,
right.
it rotates, and it shows you the hair flowing like this. It's not practical. I mean, it's a nice branded, you could put it up, but it has literally zero value from a selling standpoint. However,
Yeah,
if the same salon owner actually talks about, goes like, this is the product, this is what we've been recommending. When you do your hair with this kind of color code and this kind of a highlight and this kind of a thing, and you leave it in, blah, 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 you need to use it this way. Let me show you how to use it, right? And then you're
yeah,
showing it to them. They connect directly with Linda, right? Linda, the hair salon
right,
hairdresser. They know that, if I have any question related to this product, I can ask Linda, and Linda can actually in live chat or even Q&A, like delayed, very passive, right? They could put the question in, and then they can come back. Oh, by the way, we've been hearing from the redheads that when they are using the product, that they had some questions, and here's another video with the redheads, because the previous one was with blondes, and it didn't answer the redhead question, right?
right. Well, I was
So
just going to say testimonials is another great way to kind of
yeah,
like make sure that you're touching people in a way that has, some authenticity behind it. Because if you get people that love your product and you get them to comment on it in some type of video format, like it also pushes it in a way that you couldn't do as a business or a brand yourself.
yep, definitely. I mean, the um, testimonials nowadays you could do it in so many different ways. The obvious and simplest one is just reviews and ratings, where you're putting in a title for the review, you're giving it a one out, a few stars out of five stars, and then you're giving a description of how you used it. And some consumers go out of their way. If it's a food product, they actually say that, oh, I use it for my mom's recipe, blah, 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 hand me down for generations. And when I replaced this ingredient with that ingredient from this product, it was amazing. The thing became more fluffy, it popped more, the color was amazing, and things of that nature. So that's just textual. Some of them actually put photos of the product that they're using in the context, so you get that. The more pro ones, actually nowadays is so easy. You can just use your iPhone. They're recording the testimonial, and they're doing unboxing to actual recipes, and they're loading it up. They're loading it up on their, not necessarily maybe on your own site. Maybe they're doing it even on, if you're pushing it on from your site, if a purchase is made to do a video review, you can definitely put that on your site. But people are all the time, they're producing and showing to 300 of their closest friends on social media, on their Instagram
Right.
account. So that's also your reach. So it's not just
Yeah, it's free marketing.
yeah, it's
It's
free
all free.
marketing. Yep. And they just showed that video to 300 people. They were doing it because the consumer wants to actually be a part of the story themselves, right? Like, I did this, look at the cake I made, right? Um, or look at how I applied this coloring and how amazing it came out and stuff like that. They're doing it for that, but they're using a product. And if it was your product that they used, and hopefully they tagged you on it, or you're listening, you're putting in the right. There are tools called social listening tools, or that companies use
Right.
to kind of see if your brand name was mentioned in any of the social media posts that are publicly available, and then you could find them. And if somebody's doing a great job, you could reach out to them and go like, hey, we love the fact you use our product, and it looks amazing that cake that you made. Do you mind if we put it on our channel and on our website? Get the permission. If most likely they'll say yes. You'll take it and put it up, and that's another way that gives more social validation, not just reviews and ratings. Now you have a social validation. Somebody actually did it outside of the brand, because there's always a concern that if a brand or retailer does it, it's kind of, the video is edited and things of that nature. But if a consumer is doing it, there's no editing, there's no incentive for them to
Right.
do that. That it's more
Yeah.
authentic for them. So you could definitely use that content to leverage it for even more sales.
Yeah. So let's get back to something you mentioned earlier with the higher end restaurants and some of the business owners that, they don't understand the business aspect of their own company and can't transition to e-commerce because it's something new. Like, what are some of the fears that you have heard or that you've seen about people wanting to go to e-commerce but not really understanding how to do it, and maybe also adverse to learning something new? I mean, it's a technology for some people that, yes, it's been around for a very long time, but people that have not actually taken their business online and haven't done it, it's a very new concept, and a lot of people are adverse to trying new things or doing new things. Like, what are some of those fears that you've seen, and how have you managed your clients through those fears and kind of help them see the potential and what's on the other side of those fears?
Sure. The first one is actually the word fear itself. So to me,
Yeah.
fear is an acronym. It stands for false entities appearing real, right? That's fear, FEAR. For a lot of them, it's what they heard. They heard their friend
Right.
did XYZ, it didn't work. They heard that they invested so much in e-commerce and it didn't work out. They lost a lot of money and so on and so forth, right? They heard. This is a hearsay. They heard it from somewhere, right? Not that they did it themselves. They just heard it that it didn't work for somebody else, right? So that's the word side of it. That's the fears. Is exactly that. And if the person had a little bit of a doubt about that friend and spent like $29 on a Shopify account, that's what it costs per month on the most basic account Shopify has. And take an image, put the stuff up, and just put it up and see what it does. Recommend the site to a couple of their not even brand, not their business friends, but their family friends on Facebook. Well, like, hey, we just launched our e-commerce site on this. We're really nervous. Could you guys take a look at it and see what you guys like, and please place an order. And here's a 10% off coupon, right, for your trouble, right? So if they had that much of a doubt and just tried it out, they would have seen that it was just their friend may have not had the experience, or they may have hired the wrong person, or any of those kinds of things. That because it does play a role. Like if people go down the road and they're taking the journey with somebody that's not really qualified to do that, because it is a skill set. You do need to hire the right person to make sure that you're getting the right results from it. Or if you don't know, there are millions of YouTube videos that teach you how to set up a Shopify store for free, right? You watch it. I've come across very nice videos by people that take 2-3 hours. Literally, the entire video is 3 hours of step-by-step how to set up your Shopify site so you can sell one product or 5 products. If you follow that and spare your Saturday 3 hours to kind of do that, you would succeed over somebody who really doesn't know what they're doing, and then you're going to have a bad experience from it. The others are, unfortunately, from the same location, from YouTube. They watched the videos, and somebody told them to start spending money on Facebook, right? The person who's recommending that on a YouTube video may have had like 10 years of experience. So they're talking about, it's like, um, somebody regular with a crayon trying to paint versus Picasso. So,
Right.
you can't expect the same results from it. So if they're saying it with a lot of context and a lot of experience. They're not putting that context in place to say it works. They're showing you screenshots of their Shopify store showing that, look, we started hitting $100,000 a month, and you could be one of those people that could be hitting it. And they start listening to that person. That it's not that that person in the video is in the YouTube video is wrong. It's just that they're a lot more experienced, and they can make adjustments and stuff like that so that they're not overspending on like something like a Facebook advertising, you know. So that's the kind of thing that you have to be watchful for. Like, listen to it, but understand that these are like professional athletes they run every single day, and they run marathons, and you're just starting out to walk, and you just bought your first Fitbit. How about you just start walking? Forget about power walking, just walk. That's what you're doing. Don't compare yourself to the marathon runners.
That's a great analogy for like just marketing in general, and I mean specifically e-commerce as well. Like, the analogy of people that go and work out at a gym. You know, you see everybody join Jan 1 and they just go for like 2 weeks and then they give up because they don't look like Brad Pitt, or they don't have the body they were like envisioning themselves to have in 2 weeks, and they don't play the long game. And I think with e-commerce, you know, you have to kind of play the long game. You have to kind of like really kind of understand it. And just because one person worked on Facebook doesn't mean that your company or your brand would work there as well. Like each brand and each business has its own specific audience that lives on different platforms, or maybe even a Google ad search is not even like, you don't even go on social media. So there's different ways to skin a cat. And then maybe that's the biggest thing you have to kind of get people over.
Yep. I mean, it's like just using the gym analogy. I have two things there. When you walk in there, you see people who have been doing that every single day, 7 days a week. They probably do it 2-3 hours a day because that's their body is their product, right?
Right.
And that's their business. You go in there, you sign up on January 1st. You see all these people right after you get off the bike, you know, your cardio, and you're feeling sweaty and excited. Please do not go and do a 200, 300 pound bench press. Your body is not set up for that, right? And that's the kind of a thing that you have to be watchful for. What's going to happen? You're going to hurt yourself big time to the brink of going to the hospital. In case of business, if you're not careful and you're not really doing the right thing there and just kind of pacing yourself slowly, you could go bankrupt, unfortunately.
Right.
You know, or you could be losing a lot of money. And if you're an employee of that company, you might be losing your job because you just wasted a lot of money from that company. So take it easy. You could start with a small budget. Like you could start spend like $50 a week. See what it does for you after you have done everything that you could do on those product pages. And learn from that $50. Then go up to $100 a week. Then go to $150. Then go to $200. By the time you know it, by the end of the year, you might be all the way up to like doubling, and you might be up to like $10,000 a week you might be spending. But you cannot spend $10,000 a week on week one. And since you brought up the gym, so for the small business gym owners, my recommendation for them, because I do want to bring value to this, to this podcast, a good value. If you're running a gym and your gym is empty and a lot of people are at home, the number one selling product at all of the sporting goods store, the number one product was dumbbells when COVID hit. The number one product is sold out, just like paper towels and Bounty is sold out, and Lysol and hand sanitizer is sold out. The other thing that's sold out is dumbbells, because people are just wanted to have some dumbbells to actually work out at home. But as a gym owner, if people have that membership and you have their email address or you have their cell phone number, having this kind of a live show every day, right? When you're running a class at 8 a.m. every morning, right? Or you're repeating it again at 4 p.m. so that people can join you in the morning and they can join you at night, just like they would in your gym. Have a virtual class and show them, like using basic things like sofa. How can you work out? How if you have a stairs, like you see the stairs in the back of my, you see that there? Like how can I use that to run up and down, and how can I kind of do push-ups and stuff like that against those stairs and stuff like that? How can I lift a part of the sofa and work out, or even run in place kind of a thing if I'm in a lockdown and stuff like that. They could actually continue bringing value to the people. And every gym, again, just like a hair salon, has a place that there's a kitchen there that they're selling sports drinks and special drinks that are only available in a gym. Offer it up right now. I mean, especially if people are coming to your gym, they're local. So you don't even, you could connect it to an Uber Eats so people can come and pick the stuff up, or TaskRabbit or something like that. Or, because you don't have a gym right now, it's closed, you could actually do contactless delivery of those things to your local community. And people are willing to buy those kinds of things. Like, I mean, if you think about ordering it through Amazon may not deliver it for 2 weeks, and you need that drink in order to continue working out and in order to continue building and things of that nature. So even gyms could benefit from e-commerce at this time right now.
So just one more gym analogy, 'cause I think it's really kind of pertinent to everything we're talking about. Like you said, you get off the bike, you're feeling good about yourself. My thing is, like, you get off the bike, you're feeling good about yourself, and then you walk into the free weight area and you see somebody who's been doing it for a couple of years and they look fantastic. Meanwhile, you just feel good about the bike thing, and you're like, damn, I'm not even close to where this person is, and I just kind of give up as a result because I'm not there. And I think that's also true to a lot of people getting into e-commerce, marketing online. They go in, they do a little bit, and they feel good because they're seeing some results, but then they start comparing themselves to like a Gary Vee or somebody else who's got a big following or is doing really successful things, and they're like, damn, I'm not even close to that. And they give up before they even try. So even with a little bit of success, like, how do you transform those little seeds of success, block out the noise from everybody else around you, and like really propel yourself forward so you keep making incremental steps? Like, how do you measure that? I think data is something that's really kind of important, how you measure the steps you take to continue to grow and build your e-commerce business.
So in case of e-commerce, the good news is it's all about data. It's 100% about data. Everything from the site behavior, when people show up to your site, you can measure it through Google Analytics. There's a free tool available from Google. When you're set up a store on Shopify or BigCommerce, you could set up a free account on Google Analytics. They give you a little tag, a number, like an account number. You plug it into Shopify. There's not much involved in that. You can put that in there. So whenever people show up to your site, you know exactly what they're doing. You can see how they're navigating your site, what parts of the page people are actually clicking on, and when are they adding an item to their cart, their virtual shopping cart, for people to go through the checkout process, how many of them checking out and how many of them are bailing out on you. It's called cart abandonment, right? That's a technical term. So you can measure everything. When you're running advertisement, the same thing on Google Analytics actually tells you, and also the platform like Facebook tells you how effective that ad was, right? How many people clicked on that ad on the platform like Facebook. When you're scrolling through your feed, you see the ad, you go like, oh, I like this, I'm going to do shop now. Then you come to your site. So they clicked on the ad. They believed what you said in that ad. So they showed up to your site. Once they showed up to your site, then Google Analytics takes over. It tells you everything that person did, right? And if people are showing up but they're not buying, that means that your Facebook audience that you had created for this ad is not the right audience, right? Because it's just coming in. Maybe you showed a scary skit on that ad, and people think that they're going to watch a horror movie when they come to your site, and now you're trying to sell flowers. It has nothing to do one with the other. Even though that's a very interesting ad, it's just not related to what you're trying to do, right? So when people show up, you're going to get like 100 out of 100 people are going to bounce. They're going to leave. They'll leave your site. So you just wasted ad dollars in that scenario, right? So what I say is, one of my sayings is data over ego, right? So don't think like I did this ad, I did it. It was an amazing ad. I filmed it so amazingly. Look at the film, videography on this thing, and look at these sharp cuts and stuff like that. Look at the amazing thing I did. No, think about the end product. Put that consumer in the center of that universe. What would Jason, the consumer, think when they see this thing? Is it really conveying value there that they will say, oh wow, it's amazing. Every knife that I have in my drawer is like it's blunt, and I really like this ceramic knife because it's going to be sharp all the time, right? You're delivering value in that ad, then I'm enticed as a consumer to click on it to continue discovering what the price is, and is it available for me to buy, and is it, how long does it take for them to actually ship it to me, and when am I going to get it and enjoy this ceramic knife. So all of that, like, remove the ego part of it. I literally park my ego at the door whenever I go to my office. Right now, I just step outside and leave it outside my door. I'm outside my house during the COVID era because my office is inside my house. So I literally leave it outside my house and kind of forget about my ego. I just look at the data, because e-commerce and digital gives you a ton of data. You just need to understand what the data you're reading, what is it telling you, and based on that, remove your ego from the equation and just strictly look at the data, and look at what it's telling you about your brand, what it's telling you about process of buying. Is the journey flowing nicely for consumers, or are they getting confused? If it's working on your desktop, maybe the mobile one is not working so well is because you did not really optimize it for mobile. And you're driving a ton of traffic from Facebook, which tends to be more mobile, and you're not seeing the conversion that you should be seeing. So those
Right.
are the kind of things that everything could be measured. And running a business, if you can measure everything, that's like you're removing a lot of the guesswork from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Every consumer has a want or a desire, right? And like if you can establish your product as being the vehicle to get them from point A to point B in the fastest, easiest way, that's how you can win with actually selling something to a consumer. Like I think a lot of times, people that in the advertising agencies or in marketing, they get confused and they get so concerned about positioning their product as the thing, as opposed to identifying and understanding the consumer's journey to actually want your product. And it's defining that bridge that actually helps them get from where they are to where they want to be.
I would actually extend that to want and desire to buy from you specifically.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
the value, because they could buy, just like the airlines say, every time they land, and you could have had a choice of going with any airlines. I keep on going with industries that during COVID are suffering right now, unfortunately. But
Right.
the airlines, it's you had your choice of choosing anyone. Thank you for choosing us, right? If you're retailing products, in that hair salon example, for example, right, you could be selling a product that they may be able to find somewhere else. They could have been buying it somewhere else. You want that want and desire to translate to want and desire from buying it from Jason, because Jason is giving them so much value on how to use that product also, right?
Right.
They're not getting it from anyone else. So when they're watching that YouTube, it's not even on your site. They're watching this YouTube video when you're showing them this recipe. They're believing in you, and then they look at the description. They're hitting that link to come back to you to buy it because you just gave them a ton of value. So that want and desire is not just, it's not like an Apple product that I love those AirPods and or AirPod Pro or whatever. I'm gonna go buy more AirPods because I believe in, I heard Tim Cook say that this was amazing, or I heard this influencer Jason who talks about all these headphones and earphones, and he brings everybody from Grammy winners to all those things to try these headphones out and things of that nature, right? It's just a different level of content, and
Right.
the want and desire is like, as a consumer, I want to buy from Jason. I don't want to buy from anywhere else, because if I have any issue, and a great example of it is in New York City, there's a store, B&H Photo Video. They sell all sorts of equipment. The same equipment, you could buy it on Amazon. You could buy it on Best Buy. Why do people go to B&H Photo to buy that? When you walk in there and you experience,
because when I bought this microphone, I bought it from B&H because they had like a tutorial and they actually showed me what it was and how to use it. It's true. Like all of the equipment that I have actually right now was pretty much all bought from B&H specifically because of that.
I didn't even know that.
I actually bought this microphone about a week and a half ago from B&H when I knew I was going to start this podcast thing, and I was doing some research there, and like they have an incredible library of different microphones, how they work, what they're used for, and then how to get the best bang for your buck, and they're invaluable. And the thing that's so incredible about them specifically, and don't mean to go off on a B&H tangent here, but if they want to sponsor this show, that'd be great. The thing that's so incredible about them
is Photo, you can thank me later.
they're not so tied to a brand. You know what I'm saying? Like they kind of like. Yeah, exactly. So they're not pushing the highest priced item off of their shelf. They're actually kind of giving you a very broad spectrum of like what they have to offer and the different values at each price point and the different things that can do for you. And I think they're an incredible example of making great content that doesn't have to be specifically pushing a specific item on you as a consumer. And I think that's why they're the most successful one in New York City.
And when you go in and you walk in, and if you have any questions before you make a purchase, after you make a purchase, they're there to actually explain those kinds of things for you, in addition to the content library that they represent.
Yeah.
So that's the That's a kind of a tremendous value that they're bringing. Otherwise, they could have bought it from anywhere. So that's
Right.
a perfect example of that. So for the small business owners, you do bring your brand of that content, your use. You should definitely make the product. Don't I it is pretty scary to get in front of a camera for the first time to kind of record it. But if you have any doubts, I always use this example, just watch Gary Vee on his episode 1 of Wine Library. Right, the lighting is horrible. You can barely hear him. There was no iPhone back then, so he was not even using a high quality camera. It was like one of those big cameras you put on your shoulder. He put it on a tripod. You see his dad come in and kind of shake his head in that video, go like, "What are you doing? Get back to work." And then that was Gary Vee, one of the greatest guys that I know that puts out so much content out there. If you have any doubts, like start from there. You can see where he is compared to now. He's actually doing 2 or 3 live shows a day, right? And doing so many weekly shows and so much content and so much Q&A and all sorts of things like that. It takes time. The first one is going to
Right.
be horrible. You might not hit it. Maybe you're just natural and you didn't even know. By the time you get to that 10th episode or the 16th episode, you're going to become really good at it. You would know how to level your audio so that you can get it on the first pass, and you're going to be very sophisticated with iMovie or Final Cut Pro by episode 25 to know to use something like a Final Cut Pro kind of a software, and things of that nature. So it is going to be scary, but the thing is, remember, if the content is not there, it doesn't exist. So if you
Right.
produce content, and people find that content useful, they will forego the production quality of it because they're seeing the value that they want. I've watched videos on gardening tools and stuff like that didn't look so great. But the thing is, I went like, wow, okay, that's how you remove that nut in order to twist it and put the thing on. Right?
Right.
That video was the only video that showed me that, and I loved it. I put it. I actually liked it. I put my comments in. Thank you for covering this thing. You should do more videos. Just because of that one thing that they showed that none of the other videos had shown me how to do that. So
Right.
you do
Yeah.
have a lot to bring. This, as a small business owner, you do have a lot to bring to the table. Start producing. Start making content. It will become natural to you. It's not natural to you because you have not been doing it. It's like working out at the gym analogy that we were using earlier. The first time you're gonna be out of breath and stuff like that, but you'll be surprised by 21st day that you get on that cardio machine and you're fine, right? When you go to
Yeah.
the dumbbells, now you're upgrading your sets and stuff like that you're doing. It just takes time. So just start now, start doing, learn from the process, and that's how you're gonna win.
Yeah. So I get a couple questions. I want to make sure we get a couple in before our time is up because I know you got to go at 12:30. So somebody's asking about how e-commerce establishes a closer relationship with your customer, like how you can actually strengthen that relationship as opposed to going through traditional advertising and marketing strategies and not offering e-commerce and like keeping your products on shelves at like Whole Foods or other grocery stores. Like, how does e-commerce enable a brand or a business to actually own their relationship with their consumer and actually strengthen it as a result of that?
Sure. If I have 500 customers in e-commerce, I know exactly how they behave. I know exactly what they buy. I know exactly how often they buy and how much they spend every time and what kind of what their flavor taste is. They like strawberry, vanilla, whatever, right? When your product is on a store shelf, you don't know anything about it because they bought the product at Kroger, they bought it at Whole Foods, they bought it at a grocery store. You have no idea who that consumer is at the end of the day. You just know that you moved units of a product. You don't know anything about your customer, none, zero, right? On the other side, that e-commerce customer, those 500 customers that I have in my database, or 5,000 or 50,000 or 500,000 customers I know each one of their behavior. I have their email address. If you know what I'm talking about with social pixels, you can put actually pixels and you can actually follow them on social media, right? That's another way to do it. You could ask for their cell phone number, and then you could SMS text them, electronically. I could do email marketing. I could do Facebook Messenger. It's a very popular platform. They can subscribe to your Facebook Messenger, and then they can talk to you, and you can talk to them. whenever those kinds of things come up, I could always. So communication and having access to that consumer is a number one thing feature of e-commerce, right? And I know,
Yeah.
like, I don't have to work hard to keep on selling that can of tomato sauce every single time by
Right.
advertising, because I already know Jason likes he likes the crushed tomato sauce, right? That's the one that he likes. I'm gonna send him an email. I can SMS him. I can do a texting, mobile texting. I could do Facebook Messenger, and I can do social pixels. I could do all of those things to Jason at the same time and say that, hey, the tomato sauce you love is back in stock now. Come on and get it before it runs out again. And then Jason is going to appreciate that service, and then I'm going to, end up purchasing from me. So that's how I know. I know Jason. It's not like I know 1,000 people that look like Jason, which I could do too. But then those people I would know also to continue communicating with them on a regular basis.
So just jumping off that, this can be our last question actually too. Somebody else wants to know like how e-commerce allows for business to actually properly plan for their production and distribution. Whereas like you're producing products, you're sending them to a store and you're selling items, you're getting basically based on the inventory that's coming back, how much they want to actually purchase from you. But how does e-commerce enable you as a business owner to actually run a tighter business and actually a tighter ship with your production and your distribution?
So initially, just like a new account that you would sign on, like a new store that needs your product, right? You're going to start up with a small inventory. I mean, especially if you're a small business owner, I would start up with a small allocation of inventory or shared inventory, whoever basically gets it first. Like if you see that your e-commerce is a runaway success immediately, you could literally allocate it and treat e-commerce almost like an account that you process. Like just like you send it to ABC store, you'll say that my .com is going to become another store for me, right? And then you could do proper inventory management and inventory allocation, right? And then when it starts growing, you'll realize that it's no longer like a store because it's one of your biggest stores, right? Then you have to move away from it, and then you have to work with your supply chain to especially if you're manufacturing your own brand and you're making your own product. Then you transition into, okay, we need to 50% of our inventory needs to be for our .com store, for our e-com store, right? Then you'll start working your inventory that way over time. And the great thing about it, when something goes out of stock, you can put up a notify me on that product page, so you know that how much money you're leaving on the table if you're under allocating your inventory, right? And then next month you're going to get better at it, or next quarter you're going to get better at it, right? You're going to make sure that, okay, you know what, 100 was not enough, I need to move it to 250, right? Or 250 was not enough, now I need to move it to 750 or 1,000 units for this product.
Right. So what's like maybe some parting words or something about how people could really benefit from e-commerce, maybe something that people don't really see or identify with right now in the moment because there's so many other pressures externally that are like really clamping down on small businesses and brands in general. Like, what are some of the things that you can show for like as final words of like how e-commerce could be a beacon of hope, something that people can really use to kind of help them get through the next couple of months as we kind of wait this thing out?
So my parting words, I would say that I'm a very much an action guy. People call me steak and not sizzle. So I'm not a sizzle guy. I'm a steak guy. I want to see the money. It's the show me the money kind of a guy. So it's great. People are attending these kind of podcasts and they're learning from it. That's definitely the first step, right? If they are right now, their businesses are closed and they're sitting at home. Don't watch TV. Don't turn off all the channels that keep on talking about COVID. You're home. You're safe. Just now turn it into something positive, right? On YouTube, start typing in Shopify tutorial, for example. You'll see there are some videos that are small that they're trying to sell their digital course, but there are other ones that are really good that are 2-3 hours long. Watch those ones. Take 2-3 hours. Put your headphones on. Take notes. Learn what it says, and then go on Shopify or BigCommerce, whichever tutorial you're watching, and just set up an account. You could set up a $29 per month account. That works fine. And then step by step, as you're learning it, just literally, you might take today, right after this podcast. Go on YouTube, type that in, find it, and the rest of the day, don't spend it on watching TV or net. I love Netflix and I love Hulu and things of that nature. It has its own place. Entertainment has its own place, but be productive. Just lock yourself in. Watch the thing on one device or on your computer, and on the other one, just exactly what they're saying. Just do it. Go through the motion. Go and do. A lot of people watch. Like, this is not NFL, right? I'm not going to make a touchdown or anything like that. I'm horrible with football analogies too. So this is not entertainment. I want people to actually take action. Action is the biggest thing. It's the loudest thing you could do, right? The loudest thing you could do for your business. You'll be surprised that when the person, whoever is telling you to do these steps, as you're doing it, as you're taking notes based on what they're telling you and you're following them and you're actually doing them, you'll be surprised that things will start happening in your head. Go like, oh, I do that thing. Okay, I'm going to put these 3 products up, right? And I'm going to try to see what happens with it, right? You have no idea how to set up a payment system right now, how to connect it to your to your checking account and your business checking account and stuff like that. Learn that process. So that's my biggest advice. Like, don't watch these things for entertainment value. Go and do. There's a lot of value in that, and you'll be surprised. By end of today, you'll know this much more, and tomorrow you'll know this much more. And then you're gonna get by today is Monday, so by this weekend, you might actually have a store up. It may not look amazing or whatever, but you have a store up, and which you didn't have. You had 0 before. That's my biggest advice. Go and do, and then hit me up I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. My name is very unique, so there's no other Sabir Semerkant in the world. So if you type that in on Twitter, I'm at Sabir's Sabirs, and on LinkedIn I'm in Sabir Semerkant. Hit me up, DM me if you have any questions and stuff like that. If it's a quick answer, I can definitely provide help there and answer your question. If it's a much more involved engagement, I do e-commerce consulting, so we can do an engagement together.
Great, Sabir. Thank you so much for your time. It's been really, really, really great. And stay safe, and maybe we'll talk again soon in the future.
Thank you, Jason, for having me, and thank you for everyone for tuning in. Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care, man. Bye.